I called a locksmith. An hour later the locks were changed. My ex and his mom can't bother me anymore." Vanessa's hands shook as she dialed the locksmith's number, her Portland apartment still echoing with the aftermath of Derek and Sharon's latest uninvited visit. The confrontation had ended, with Derek pounding on her door for 20 minutes, while his mother screamed through the window about Vanessa's ungrateful attitude toward their attempts to work things out. The breaking point had come when Vanessa discovered that Sharon had been using her spare key to enter the apartment while Vanessa was at work, rearranging furniture and leaving passive-aggressive notes about cleanliness and proper relationship priorities. The violation felt like emotional burglary, transforming her safe space into a battlefield she couldn't escape, even when Derek wasn't physically present. Derek's key privileges had theoretically ended when Vanessa broke up with him 3 months ago, but his refusal to return the spare key and Sharon's possession of an unauthorized duplicate had turned their separation into an ongoing siege. Every day brought the possibility of finding them in her living room, ready to deliver lectures about forgiveness and family values that felt more like hostage negotiations. Vanessa had tried reasoning with them, explaining that showing up unannounced violated basic boundaries and made moving on impossible. But Derek interpreted her need for space as playing hard to get, while Sharon saw Vanessa's independence as a temporary obstacle to her son's happiness that required persistent correction. The final straw had been that morning's discovery that Sharon had thrown away Vanessa's birth control prescription during one of her unauthorized cleaning sessions, claiming it was expired medication despite the clearly printed date showing 6 months remaining. The act was so invasive and presumptuous that Vanessa finally understood their visits weren't about reconciliation, but about control. Derek's subsequent explanation that his mother was just trying to help, while dismissing Vanessa's fury as overreacting, crystallized everything wrong with their relationship dynamics. He couldn't see the violation because he'd been trained to see his mother's interference as love rather than manipulation. The locksmith arrived within an hour, a no-nonsense professional who asked no questions about the urgency in Vanessa's voice or the obvious signs that someone had been rummaging through her personal belongings. His efficiency was comforting, each turn of his tools representing another barrier between Vanessa and the people who refused to respect her clearly stated boundaries. As the old locks came off, Vanessa felt something lifting from her chest that she hadn't realized was there. The weight of constant vigilance, of never knowing when she might come home to find Derek and Sharon conducting another intervention about her life choices, began to dissolve with each new tumbler clicking into place. The cost was $300 Vanessa hadn't budgeted for, money that would stretch her already tight finances even thinner. But the price felt insignificant compared to the value of reclaiming her personal space from people who treated her home like community property they could access whenever convenient for their emotional needs. Derek's first attempt to use his old key came that evening, his frustrated rattling of the door handle followed by increasingly angry phone calls demanding explanation for the childish lock change. His inability to simply walk into her apartment seemed to genuinely confuse him, as if her desire for privacy represented some kind of betrayal of their shared history. Sharon's reaction was more calculating, suggesting they could simply wait outside until Vanessa came home, @liberdadar.com. Or contact her landlord about getting replacement keys for family emergencies. The woman's determination to maintain access revealed how little she understood about Vanessa's right to control her own living space. When gentle persuasion failed, Derek and Sharon escalated to more aggressive tactics, showing up at Vanessa's workplace to discuss their concerns with her supervisor and contacting her family members to express worry about her isolation and mental state. Their campaign felt like emotional warfare designed to force Vanessa back into compliance through public pressure and professional embarrassment. Vanessa's response to their escalation was swift and comprehensive. She documented their harassment through screenshots and witness statements, building a case that transformed their concern into evidence of stalking behavior that could be addressed through legal channels rather than emotional manipulation. The restraining order she filed surprised Derek and Sharon, who seemed genuinely shocked that their persistent efforts to help Vanessa could be reframed as criminal harassment. Their lawyer's explanation that unauthorized entry and workplace interference constituted grounds for prosecution forced them to confront the reality that love didn't justify violating someone's clearly stated boundaries. Derek's final attempt to contact Vanessa came through a mutual friend, suggesting they could start over if she would just agree to family counseling with Sharon present. The proposal revealed how completely he misunderstood their situation. Vanessa wasn't interested in repairing a relationship with people who couldn't respect basic concepts like consent and personal autonomy. Sharon's response to the legal boundaries was predictably dramatic, involving tearful phone calls to extended family about Vanessa's vindictive behavior and claims that the restraining order proved she'd never truly loved Derek. The manipulation felt desperate rather than effective, revealing Sharon's panic at losing control over her son's romantic life. 6 months later, Vanessa was living peacefully in her Portland apartment, with new locks that had never been tested by uninvited visitors. Derek had eventually moved back in with Sharon, where his mother could maintain the level of involvement in his daily life that she'd tried to force into his relationship with Vanessa. The locksmith's business card remained on Vanessa's refrigerator as a reminder that sometimes the most effective response to boundary violations was creating physical barriers that couldn't be argued with or manipulated. Her apartment had become truly hers again, a sanctuary where she could exist without constantly monitoring for signs of intrusion. The $300 had been the best investment in her mental health and personal freedom that Vanessa had ever made, proving that some problems required practical solutions rather than endless emotional negotiation with people who refused to hear the word no.